Lassiter Factor.
What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor, and I hope everyone had a safe and wonderful 4th of July. And in honor of that holiday, I want to talk about a movie that is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and that is Independence Day. But before I continue, I want to apologize in advance if you hear a fan in the background. That is because the AC is out in my house at the moment. It's bad enough I gotta suffer through hot weather outside, and now I gotta suffer through a home with no AC. But yeah, ever since Friday, I've been having fans going on to have some air circulation in the house, so just bear with me with this particular review right here. So Independence Day came out in 1996. It's directed by Roland Emmerich, and it is essentially an alien invasion movie where all the different countries in the world come together to stop this alien invasion that just happens to take place on July the 4th. Now, you don't need me to tell you about the legacy of this movie. It was one of the biggest films of 1996, but as far as my personal history with the movie, it's one of those movies that I didn't watch too many times growing up. I mean, I always watched it when they caught on TV, but generally speaking, it's not one of my favorite blockbusters. Hell, it's not even one of my favorite Will Smith movies. But I do remember 10 years ago, 2016 was the first time I actually sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end, and mostly the prep for Independence Day Resurgence, which I'm not reviewing because fuck that movie. But I just remember watching it all the way through for the first time 10 years ago and thinking like, yeah, it was okay. I can understand why people watch it. But watching it this time around 10 years later and with more adult eyes, I'm gonna be honest, I actually like this movie. This movie's a lot funner than what I remember. And dare I say, because I rewatched this on Friday and now I want to rewatch it again. And maybe that's because this movie is of a different breed. It came from a different time when it just aimed to do one thing, and that is entertain. Now, as far as director Roland Emmerich goes, this is definitely one of his best films. And he's what most people would consider Michael Bay light, in the sense that he just makes these dumb fun movies. Most of them are disaster films, like The Day After Tomorrow, which is another favorite film of mine. Godzilla 98, that movie sucks, but I always have a nostalgic place in my heart for it. And he's made other things like 2012, 10,000 BC, Stargate. The man doesn't have a perfect track record, but most people would consider Independence Day as his best film, and rightfully so. And that's something that I think Roland Emmerich knows how to do. He knows how to take these big scope and large-in-the-life type stories and just create a bunch of different characters in which their stories collide with each other, and they just have one common goal, and that's stopping whatever the predicament is in that particular movie. Plus, the effects of this movie was just revolutionary at the time, and even for a big blockbuster like this movie. I mean, just watching a giant alien ship destroying some of the most well-known American artifacts like New York City, the White House, you name it. At the time, yeah, we've seen that before, but you got to think back in 1996, no one had ever seen that before on that type of scope. And it's just amazing how well the effects in this movie work, because it was a good use of both practical and CGI imagery. But I think another reason why this movie just works so well as it did is because it's a movie that pleased everybody. And what I mean by that is it pleased everybody on the left and it pleased everybody on the right. It's that movie that brought everybody together, and it didn't aim to please or offend anybody. And it had characters that everyone can latch onto, and they all came from different walks of life. You got Jeff Goldblum's character, who's a bit down on his luck. His wife inspired him to strive for bigger within his field, but he just thought everything was okay, and that caused a rift in their marriage, and they got divorced. His wife, who works in the White House, and she's the one that he has to go to because he's the one that figured out why these aliens are attacking and when the aliens are going to attack first. The president of this movie, played by Bill Pullman, and he gave one of the best speeches within cinema history. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. His dad is played by Judd Hirsch, in which the two of them go through their little arc in the movie. This is probably the character that people on the right will more so latch onto, because he's just that gung-ho guy that's want to go in shooting first, ask question later, and he swears he's seen aliens years before, and he wants to prove that again and get the chance to see them, and he makes the most noble sacrifice in the movie. You got Brett Spiner, who plays his doctor in Area 51, and he's just excited about this, but I like how the president just tells him, like, people are dying. This is not something to get excited about. But of course, we gotta talk about the real star of this movie, and that is Will Smith, who, at the time this movie came out, was hot off of the success of Bad Boys, and a lot of people would consider this the movie that crossed him over into blockbuster status, and why people called him Mr. 4th of July for a long time. And I can understand why. I mean, Bad Boys was the movie to make him a movie star, but this was the movie that crossed him over. Plus, Will Smith and Joel Goldblum is a duo that, let's be honest, back in the 90s was a duo that no one saw coming. Plus, it's just awesome to see the two of them in this shot right here. Awesome. And I also like Will Smith's character's arc within this movie. I mean, first off, it's like a Fresh Prince reunion within his adopted family. I mean, you got Vivica Fox, who was also in the first season of Fresh Prince, and then you got little Nicky, who played the youngest cousin during those final 2 seasons of Fresh Prince. But in this movie, he plays his adopted son. He's in the army, and then Vivica, his soon-to-be wife, is a stripper, but Will Smith, he wants to get that next promotion, but he's afraid they won't because he is dating a stripper. But hey, back in the 90s it was a little taboo, but of course today it's a little bit more acceptable. But regardless, she also goes through her own little arc in the movie. Now, this movie is not perfect. I mean, the third act solution in which just upload a virus and that'll take out the aliens. I mean, yeah, even back then that was a little bit silly. And the movie as a whole, it does have it has a lot of silly moments, and it probably by today's standards in terms of blockbuster, it's one of those so dumb it's fun type movies. But that's okay, because that's what this movie was trying to do back in 1996. I gotta see where this movie lands with me in terms of how I rank all of Will Smith's movies, but as far as it as a movie, I like this more as I rewatch it. I'm gonna give Independence Day a high hard eyes emoji. That's it for today. Have you seen Independence Day? If so, how do you feel about this movie 30 years later? Does it hold up? Does it not hold up? Do you watch it every 4th of July? And where does it rank with Will Smith's other movies? Let me know in the comments section below. This your boy, Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.